It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Sanjay Sethi, founder and CEO, Matrix Publishers India and Matrix Print and Publishing Services. Sir has gained rich corporate experience for over 2.5 decades in global book publishing, media, broadcasting, and educational markets. Sir has been Managing Director at Wolters Kluwer, CCH, India, Chief Publisher and Head Strategic Business Development at Macmillan India Limited, Vice President Advertising Sales at Sony Entertainment Television, Chief Manager Times Television and Times FM Radio at Times of India Group. His strong management skills and deep understanding of India's educational market encouraged UNSW Global, University of New South Wales, Australia, to appoint him as an independent director on their Indian board in 2007. In addition to managing his business, Sir is actively involved in business incubation strategy and market entry plans. Besides active merger and acquisition, front-ending negotiation for several international and local entities. I welcome you, sir, for enlightening students with your words of wisdom. Sir, the podium is all yours.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You love that. Guys, I'm sorry, we are running a little late, partly because of the previous speaker and partly because of the fact that my laptop went to sleep. No HR guys here. These HR guys scare you to death, don't they? You know, the first time I met a HR guy was when I went for my first job. And the last time I went to the HR guy when I was sacked. I never looked at an HR guy after that. So don't worry. They only paint a doomsday picture. You guys are much smarter. And I can see each one of you. Yeah, you are. Say that again. I like the backbenchers and the spirit. Give me a minute. And in those days, we were not slaves of these little toys and machines, thankfully. So we could time ourselves. Today, after working for 30 years, I find myself a bit of a slave to these machines. So I'm trying to get around them, but sometimes technology beats a human guy who created it. So I just don't know what's up. It just has to boot up. Give me a couple of seconds, I think it will. Oops. No, just stay there. Stay there till the time it boots. But for this young guy, what's your name? Hemveer Singh. My computer got scared of Hemveer Singh. Thank you, buddy. Is it visible to you guys? Yeah, why don't you push out switch off the light? Okay, once again, I really apologize. One, for the fact that the earlier speaker took away some of my time, and the other for the fact that some more time was taken away by my computer. I'll try and be honest to the time that I've been allotted, 45 minutes from now, and 15 minutes for your questions. Firstly, let me thank Dr. Colonel Balasubramaniam for giving me this opportunity to be with you. I also thank Dr. Singh, members of your reception committee, and all of you for your patience for the last 10 minutes and for the next 45 minutes. Good afternoon to you all. Frankly, I really haven't been given any topic, so I had to figure out on my own from the mail that came from your director, Dr. Singh. And one thing that attracted me in that mail was Leaders of Tomorrow. I think that was a very well coined statement, Leaders of Tomorrow. It made me sit back, think, what am I going to tell guys who, with their 90 percentiles, with their 95 percentiles, with their whatever 90 plus percentiles manage to get into such lovely B schools, aren't they already leaders? So I think a round of applause for each one of you. Like I said, I did my B school in 85 with 60. Guys, if you're not interested, that's the door. I'm not here to waste my time and your time. I'm here to share my knowledge. I welcome people who would like to leave right now. I'm happy to talk to one guy. Thank you. In my time, we walked into a B school with 60 percentile and the best B schools in the country. Today, I think with 99% of percentile, I read somebody didn't get an IIM. What's an IIM all about? What is it going to give you that you haven't gained through the struggle that you went through to come as a percentiler in the CAT score or the MAT score or the GMAT score or whatever score, I don't even know. So sit back. Life is not something that has come to an end. It is beginning. I am humbled to stand here in front of each one of you when I say that I think it takes a lot of guts for youngsters like you to be here where you've reached through the sheer grit of your efforts. And why do I say that I don't really get paranoid by listening to what HR people have to say? You'll probably get to understand that by the time you reach my fourth slide. So, let's get started, guys. Can anybody tell me what is this stand for? Sorry? Louder, louder, louder. My presentation. That I know. What does it? Can I please ask the question? What does it connotate for a B school student like you? I think when you look out of your window, that's your life from a B school. Let me illustrate. A few clouds, lectures and projects, those are the few clouds in life that you face when you're at a B school. Some seminars and boring role plays like this one that you have to go through for the next 45 minutes. The biggest is the cloud of tutorials and examinations. And then comes the happy day when you get placed, so no clouds. According to me, that's life when you look at it from the B school. You know how it looks when you go out of the B school? Welcome to the next slide. Good. I made you laugh. Because that's what is going to take you where you need to reach. That's real life. The job that I've been assigned for the next 45 minutes is to get you out there. Oops, sorry. Encompassing challenges, future trends, changing technology, etc., and its impact on human resources as well as changes in functional areas of business. Guys, if I knew it, I'd probably be the Prime Minister of India or the President of USA and not standing here. This world that we are living in today is such a complex world that there is an unscrupulous banker somewhere in New York who takes away 900,000 jobs across the globe. And that's called the recession. There is a guy in Venezuela who sells oil to someone at some godforsaken price and the markets crash in Russia. So if I could forecast what challenges you guys are going to face or what future trends or changing technology is going to take place, I'd be God. So very honestly, you want my answer? I don't have the answer. So I am standing here, taking 45 minutes of your time. Any suggestions? What do we do for the next 40 minutes, guys? Try to find the answer. Wonderful. Who said that? Raise your hand. That's the first answer that I look for. If there's a problem, find the answer. Try to find the answer. Well done. My job for the next 45 minutes is to get you an answer so that you are out there, hopefully. Because each one of us who came out of a B school, whether in 1980, or there are certain senior people sitting in this room who came out of B schools or colleges or institutions before me, or you, or your children or my children, will one day have to face that big bad world. And couple of slides, you'll know what we're doing. Can you please identify these people? Stupid questions I'm not asking. I said it's a stupid question I'm not asking. Can you please tell me what was common with all of them? Another stupid question I'm not asking. Who said failure? Please stand up. Very good answer. Please stand up and show me your face. You're a winner. In a way, excellent answer. Please sit down. In a way, in a traditional, commonsensical, traditional manner, they were failures, but they were winners. Good answer. The gentleman called Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard in the second year. Do you know that Mr. Richard Branson has dyslexia? And you watch that movie Tare Zameen Se? And that is Richard Branson for you. But the most interesting guy I find on this list is my idol, Steve Jobs. Read the thing that is written in blue. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and how college was going to help me figure it out. I'm not for a moment saying that you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. Bala sir will throw me out. I probably won't get paid for my return ticket, but I think, read that line again. Do you know that this club has how many members? Successful people in this world without degrees and diplomas. That's just the beginning, guys. I'm not going to read each and every name. Quickly scan through it. You'll find the best in their field, not necessarily the best in school or college. Keep reading. This list is very long. Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire founder of Facebook. Larry Ellison, billionaire co-founder of Oracle Corporation. Joseph Brodsky, Nobel Prize winning Russian poet. At 15, he tried to go to school and then, he was thrown out or something. Michael Dell, founder of Dell Computers. Let's look at some more guys in the same club. Robert Maxwell, billionaire publisher. So I have hope. Ted Turner, owner of CNN and Turner Broadcasting Network. Winston Churchill. Last one, read that. He was the Prime Minister of Britain. Walt Disney, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is the richest man in America. Thomas Edison, the guy who invented the bulb. Do you know who this guy is? What was his educational qualification? School dropout. While preparing for this presentation, I was actually looking for a list. And you know where did I get this list? I got it at a particular site of the Davos Economic Forum, World Economic Forum at Davos this year. This list runs into 50 pages in my computer. Some of the best known people in this world, leaders in their own space, owners of the best companies in the world, leaders in their own space for school or college dropouts. So what am I trying to tell you? Get out of college? No. For a minute? No. I'm only going to show you a few slides, and at the end of which I hope you will realize that the only thing that I'm going to leave behind with you is one word. You don't need to make any notes. One word that will probably give you the answer to whatever questions that we were asked. I personally think this is one of the answers that I would look for. Ideas are no one's monopoly. And I think Mr. Ambani, the senior Mr. Ambani, proved it. To make it look a little more legitimate, because I'm trying to address 2,000 students of a B school, I tried to do a bit more research. Read this. Bill Gates was invited by his B school 30 years after he dropped out, and he was given some PhD degree or the degree that he was aspiring for. And I think that's an extremely insightful speech. Do you know what next job that he was talking about? Can anybody tell me? What was the next job that Bill Gates was taking just before he got this degree? He was retiring, my friend. He was handing over the company to Steve Ballmer. So for 30 years, he worked his way through the fiercely competitive global business technology arena without a Harvard degree. And then one day Harvard called him back and said, "Sir, here is your degree." And he says, "Thank you very much. I needed it for my next job. I'm retiring next month." What does it convey to you? Any answers? It conveys what I've highlighted in blue. While accepting the degree with great humility from his alma mater, like this college is your alma mater, he said, "I applaud graduates today for taking a much more direct approach to their degrees." In a previous slide, I told you he dropped off and he started Microsoft, and the rest is history. But what you're doing today, in addition to your knowledge that you acquire through textbooks, through your lecturers, professors, teachers, what you need to acquire is a bit of an idea. How will you tackle that second slide that I showed you, those rocks out there, which will keep appearing right through this presentation to remind you that's life. Some of you are in the second year, some of you are in the first year. I made two friends this morning, Abhishek and Alicia, who came to pick me up from the airport, and I asked them, "How long have you been in this B school?" They said, "Sir, about 1.5 months." I said, "Kaisa lag raha hai?" "Sir, bahut ragda hai." I have a son who's your age. He joined KPMG on the 6th of August. On the 7th of August in the evening, he came up to me and said, "Boss, ye lafda hai boss. Naukri nahi karna, main B school ja raha hu." So which side of the coin is better? The ragda in the B school or the ragda in the job out there? There are no answers to this, boss. I've been working for 30 years. 28 years I worked for some corporates. I've virtually worked in every part of the globe. The ragda remains as a part of your life the moment you leave home and start the first play school that you went to at the age of 2 or 2.5. That's life, my friend. The complexity of the ragda and the nomenclature of the ragda changes. And pardon my love for HR people, once you enter the work life, these guys really make you feel you've done something wrong every minute of life. I belong to the sales and marketing group. I started my career at the lowest level of a sales rep, and I became the MD of one of the sixth largest publishing business globally. No, please don't clap for me. I didn't do anything called rocket science. Can you tell me one HR guy who ever headed a company globally? I don't mean to undermine the strength of HR. And I don't particularly feel that the guys who belong to the sales and marketing club or the finance club or the production club are any great human beings. I believe that each one of us is a leader, much like these 50 friends that I showed you the photographs or the names of, and probably another 500 friends that you'll find on the website, and I'll leave the name behind for you. Now, how do you make the differentiation between being at the receiving end, right, to being at the giving end? This seminar is about leadership. I want to ask you a question, and this is one of the most stupid, cliched questions, so please forgive me for asking it. Are leaders born or made? Okay. Can I ask you another question? Pehle murgi aaya ya anda? The same answer. I really don't know. I have been in the business of publishing books for some of the best companies in the world. I have researched this on some of the best websites. I've attended some of the best leadership summits across various companies. Nobody has been able to give the answer. So where is the answer? My friend out there said, let's try and find the answer. Okay? It's very unfair to look at it from a binary point of view. You know what a binary is? Zeros and ones, like they make computers? You and I are not computers, guys. We are human beings. Instead of black and white, why don't we look at leadership from a gray point of view? All leaders have shades of gray and white. Tell me one leader who was the best in the world, and tell me one leader who was the worst in the world. Well, good answer. But the gentleman or the lady who said Hitler should read the history of Hitler and then give me the answer, because he had certain positive traits. I'm not his PRO or PR agency, but can you tell me how a corporal, a guy who left school, managed to, pardon my expression, screw the shit of the whole world for 6 years? He must have had some leadership skills in him. Yes, it's a different point. He applied it badly. That's an application issue. Therefore, when we're looking at it from a black and white viewpoint, we'll say leaders are either born or they are either made. My answer to this question is they're neither born, they're neither made. The ability of leadership, my friends, has two sides. Like life has two sides, a coin has two sides. One is skills that you gain from B schools where you are studying, or the other B schools that you could have gone to. Skills come from learning. However, the traits are inborn. They're in the mind. There's something that cannot be transplanted inside you. It's like swimming. I can push you into the water, but unless you shake your legs and arms, you won't be able to swim. So my point here is leadership, like swimming, cannot be learned by reading about it. So you got to practice a few things in life. Some of the points that I'm going to share with you. What is leadership? Is it rocket science? Actually, it's not even a science. Tell me one definition of leadership which says you do A plus B or you do X plus Y under square 2 multiply by X and you'll get a bloody leader. It's an art. Can I teach you art? Probably. Can I teach you art? Probably not. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Leadership is a quality which, according to all research in the globe, whether corporate or whether academic or whether done by HR managers, is some of it is inherent in each of us. Think about it. First day when you went to school, first day when you went to college, first day when you went out on your own to watch a movie with a friend, first day when you took a public transport, first day when you came back home without your parents picking you up when you were in grade 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, there was some level of thinking in your mind or attitude which told you that I'll be able to make it home alone or wherever. So, I don't think any research has shown that none of us would be so lucky as not to have any leadership qualities in us. And I think that has not been challenged. So it is a fair assumption that each one of us sitting here or elsewhere has some level of leadership traits in us. Where do we start? This is not that vision, mission, whatever else shit that you see on every website. Don't worry. Read this. As human beings, we are only limited by our abilities. I'm sorry, we are limited not by our abilities but by our vision. I haven't said it, I picked it up from somewhere. Again, I picked it up from somewhere. The guys' names were not relevant because they didn't make any sense to me. For a leader, a vision is not a dream, but a reality which is yet to come into existence. Now, this is interesting. If I decide to say that I will become the Prime Minister of India in the next 5 years, I think I'm a bloody fool. My vision of reality is not accurate because I do not belong to a political family. I am not Sonia Gandhi's son, neither I am Bajpayee's brother. So there is nobody going to capitulate me into that level. But if I say I will become an MP or an MLA or a lower representative of the public in the area where I've resided for the last 20 years, that's probably a vision that I could turn into reality. Tomorrow, if a gentleman sitting in the front row who's probably your teacher or professor says, I'm going to build an institution which is bigger than Balaji in the next 5 years, probably that's not the right thing to say. But if the individual says next 25 years, it's possible. First, it's in your mind. Then you make it happen. You guys are being addressed as young managers, am I right? Fantastic. I had a boss who just called me, make it happen. You know what? In the corporate life, it doesn't matter whether you're a young manager or an old manager or an MD or a peon or a driver. The corporate working world out there, those tones demand, make it happen. It's too long a line. Some of these new corporations have said, too long, too many words. Deliver. Shorter word. So ultimately, if you decide to move forward, it's first in your mind. Whether I will make it happen, whether I can make it happen. You, everyday basis, you make 20, 30, 40 things happen. A vision is only a combination of those things, that I will make the following things happen over a period of time, and that's my goal. Let me explain further. Good business leaders create a vision, they articulate the vision, and passionately own the vision and relentlessly drive it to completion. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? A little bit louder. Now when I show you the name of the guy who said this, you'll say, yes sir, a bit more louder, because I didn't write this damn thing. Jack Welch said this. See, now you said yes sir, just because it's a guy who's proved that he was a leader. And for the business, for the knowledge of someone who doesn't know who Jack Welch was, and I was talking to Professor Singh this afternoon, how many of you know that Jack Welch was not the owner of GE Corporation? So that means the rest of you think he was the owner of the GE Corporation. He wasn't. He was a mere employee in the company. But he worked so relentlessly hard over the 30 years that he gave to the company that his name became synonymous. And most people don't know that Jack Welch only drew a salary like most of the people draw. But that's leadership. I think to the best of my knowledge, about 5 or 6 CEOs have changed after Jack Welch left the company. But if you go to any B school even today, or you go to any, low-level manager and say, who do you think was or is the CEO of GE Corp? The guy will say Jack Welch. Well, that's leadership. Because Jack Welch's vision got ingrained as a part of the vision of the company. And then there's another saying, which I don't know who said, the whole world will step aside for the man who knows where he's going. Does it make sense? I see a lot of young ladies yawning in that, and the camera should actually pan on them and not on me. You know, if I were to make this little more interesting, I'll say, this is a line that Shah Rukh Khan said in some movie. You remember, agar pura kainat kuch chaho dil se, to aapko pura kainat koshish karta hai, something, something. Now those young ladies have started smiling. They were yawning earlier. So that's the same point. If you really want to achieve something, there's nothing in the world which will stop you. So where does it all start? Where will the leadership thing start? Where will the debate end? It is reflected in the standards that we set for ourselves. I would respect each and every individual on this room, or any one individual in this room, who actually says, boss, this is boring, I'm going out. I think that would be a leader, because the guy would act like a leader and not undergo the pain of listening to some bullshit that some unknown guy is saying. But then think, behave, act, live like a leader. That's the first step of leadership. You can't learn it. Step one, imagine. Start imagining what will happen. You walk out of this room, somebody will chide you. You may get punished. I will not get offended. But you will become a hero in the eyes and ears of all these young boys and young girls. If you think that is the way you want to achieve a certain objective of life, you want to become a politician, try it out. Become a leader. The first step of leadership is to imagine what you want to do and try it out. If you don't want to try it out, talk about it. Talk to the guy sitting next to you and say, boss, if I walk out, do you think I'll become a hero? This is on a lighter tone. But on a serious tone, if you have a dream, talk about it. Voice your thoughts. Discuss it with people. If Bill Gates had decided that he'll only improve DOS, would we have Windows? Yes or no? Simple question. I'm asking an answer, guys. So he thought different. Am I right? If Mr. Steve Jobs, who we all say one of the most enterprising and, inspiring man on earth in the last 20, 30, 40 years, if he thought the Walkman was the best discovery on music on earth, would he have thought differently to make a iPod? Simple. If you really want to do something as a leader, try and do something new. Merely copying others will make you a copycat. So if you and I'm not saying that everybody will develop or should invent iPods and but start in your own small way. Like I said, try walking out of this room. You have elections in your college? Maybe you will anyways become a hero. So, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Do you agree with that? So do you guys have the answer to what we were trying to find? Who said yes? Please raise your hand. Who said yes? Can anybody tell me that if this little jargon of mine has helped you understand what are the traits of leadership? Because I still don't have the answer, guys. You still have to go through another 10 minutes of torture if you don't mind. Hopefully by that time we'll have the answer. Are you ready or should I stop? Thank you. You have no option. I'll tell you an interesting incident. Sir, this is the perfect company I'll give you. He would sack me. Because then I'm useless. I'm stopping to think. I've given him perfection. And nobody can give you perfection. So as a leader, believe. Thinking out of the box. This is a very old cliched line that I picked up from one of my old author's books, Shiv Kheda, but it's a good line. Leaders don't do different things, they just do them differently. There's a story of a Canadian insurance company CEO whose company was going down. He applied some jugaad in Canada, an Englishman. He said, people who are terminally ill, who are going to die in the next 6 months or 1 year, pay them their insurance policy. People were very happy. Everybody started insuring with that company and he became a market leader. यार बाद में मरने के बाद भी तो पैसा देना होता है ना, तो उसने पहले दे दिया, पता 6 महीने में मर जाएगा, लेकिन उससे कितना मार्केट शेयर ले लिया. He didn't break the law. He just paid 6 months before the doctor said this guy is going to die. He made the family happy. He emotionally brought happiness to the family. The details are there, so I'm not going to go there. Managing people. A lot of you belong to the HR group, and please, my apologies, I didn't mean, I just meant to make the atmosphere light. I love HR people, I have great respect for them. And it's a great career, it guides people. Managing people is one of the most important factors of leadership today, and I think that's where the HR role comes into play. Believe you me, today there are no assets of a company that can give you any results You are all B school guys, so I would assume you will get into business and entrepreneurship if you don't have the right people. It takes a human being about 2 years to speak. It, however, takes a lifetime to figure out what to speak when. So when you manage people, you got to be very careful as a leader. I hope the girls will wake up looking at Shah Rukh Khan's name. I purposely put them because I have a good experience that in most B schools, the girls go off to sleep in the afternoon sessions more than the boys, and then they wake up suddenly when they see Shah Rukh Khan's name. You know, a leader should know what to say when. I don't think I saw any leadership qualities in this guy when he went to New York the second time and told the guy, I am Shah Rukh Khan, I am Khan, and I am not a terrorist. Because there is nothing more dangerous than a resourceful idiot. The guy who was standing ahead of him was a resourceful idiot. He was a police cop. He said, Aajo boss, le chalte andar. I think that was a statement where he lost, according to me, a leadership status. Respect the law. If you go to you go anywhere, respect the law. Managing people is a skill that leaders have to. And I'm sorry, but I had to do a few things, like them or not like them, but to get you to sit here and listen to me. So that lectures on business management, customization will be customizing different products for different people. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying there isn't the same solution to every problem. Even if the problem is the same, try out a different solution, because that solution could be the better solution and that could become the best. For example, I give you this example. I used to work at Sony. I went to a leadership summit like this one in Sony Corporation many years ago, and they said the biggest invention of Sony and the best invention of Sony is a Walkman. And everybody from the world, some 3,500 people in Tokyo in a bloody 5-star plush hotel, and I'm talking about early mid-90s, clapped and we had a lot of fun. 3 years later, they created the iPod. So, what happened? Sony went for a fart. If you think that listening to music on a Walkman was the best solution, somebody else was thinking differently. The iPod has also gone fat. Do you know that? Now you guys use that Apple iPhone, am I right? Tomorrow, for all you know, you may have an iDog or an iCat here. So customization, if somebody else has found a solution to a particular problem, nobody is stopping you to find a better solution. You might be the next leader. Step 2, make the team believe in yourself. Learning to communicate and learning to swim and need the same approach. I think we talked about it a little while ago. If a leader cannot communicate to his teams, then he or she is of no use. A leader has to find solutions. A leader has to find answers. A leader has to make followers believe. So you got to develop the practice of thinking on your feet. One quick example I'll give you. I joined the broadcasting industry after working in the publishing industry for 10 years. And I was totally spoiled. Because in the publishing industry, work would start after the guys reach office, chai, coffee, piya, baat kiya. Broadcasting industry, my boss would actually start working at 6 o'clock in the morning on the cell phone and whatever these gadgets. Thinking on the feet, being ahead of others, is another thing that you should keep in mind. Because only if you're ahead of others, and that brings me to the next point. Manage, demonstrate. If you're going through hell, keep going. That's the job of a leader. If you're getting bored, I'm going through hell, guys. If you are going through hell, I'm fine. But is there an option? A leader doesn't have an option. I'll tell you another quick incident. There's a very senior professional in the industry who said that you're taking on the most useless job in the whole world when I got promoted to the MD of a company. And he said, you know why? Every For the full lives that we work hard, we aspire to become CEOs and MDs, but that's the most thankless job. Because for every other job, there's a boss. But what is behind the head of the company? It's a wall. So if your company is going through bad time, you got to find the solution. If you're going through hell, keep going through it, buddies. That's the sign of a leader. You can't run away from trouble. There's no place. So if you want to become leaders, make sure that you are prepared for baptism by fire. Only then your teams will respect you. Failing which, you won't be leaders. Excellence, self-discipline, fairness, ethics, empathy. These are all things that are available in books, age-old norms, apply the world over. Relevant. Competence. A competent leader is respected. People are not foolish today to respect incompetent people. So, and to make you feel happy, this is my last slide. Catch the bull by its horns and read what is written in red out there. Until the best possible solution is found, not the perfect solution. I see a lot of people talking, bullshitting, yapping. I say to them, an ounce of action is much more worth than tons of philosophy. Am I right? Karke dekho. Try it out. You might be wrong, you'll make a mistake. But you never know out of which 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 things, something will emerge. If you really want to understand leadership from the core of it, don't believe a word of what I told you. I insist. Go back to your computers on a Saturday, Sunday, do research. Tell me, where was I wrong? Challenge me. I think that will be a sign of a good leader. Send me a mail, copy your director. Each leader who emerged, whether he went to a school or dropped out of school, etc., there's a lot of effort that goes in. Philosophy is easy. My last point is, a leader needs to be unpredictable. His next or her next step, pardon my gender, no bias, no offense. Life is unpredictable. That is why we respect life. A leader has to be unpredictable. If the followers are able to predict what the leader is going to do, then what is the strategy that the leader is going to adopt for the next problem is easily going to be deciphered by the follower. And you need not be big. And give me 5 more seconds to illustrate that point because I think it will be relevant. This is a book. Don't worry, I'm not selling it. I'm gifting it free to your institution. But I'm giving you a reason why I'm showing it to you. This is the first time a certain industry body decided to hire a publisher. The industry body is very big. It's all written behind the book, so it will be in your library. I'll gift it to your institute. And they decided to ask some of the best publishing companies in India to bid for it. A friend of mine works in that company. So he joked with me that, can you bid for it? So I said, sure, why not? So he said, look, Penguin is bidding for it, Oxford University Press is bidding for it, and these guys are God's brands in my industry. So I said, now that you've told me, I won't even just bid for it, I'll get the bid. And we put in the bid and we won and we published. So I went to the same guy's office after we released the book. And I said, we won the bid and we published the bid. So he said, what did you do? I was just joking. I was just pulling your leg. I said, you gave me the best possible way to win the bid. You told me XYZ companies are bidding. These companies are MNCs. I've headed those MNCs. I know exactly what they will do and they will not do. I just inverted the pyramid. And I gave, in my bid, exactly things that MNC companies would not agree to give under their dead body. And we won the bid. So even if we were unpredictable, we were able to manage. So being unpredictable is an asset. How do you understand unpredictability? You prepare for the unknown, not by, waiting for the unknown to happen, but study whatever has happened in the past and how people who became leaders were able to cope up with those things. So these are the 10 points. I'll leave the presentation behind if it's any worth. So now do we have the answer of how will you cope with this difficult terrain when you get outside this B school? I accept my failure. Because this is my last question where I test myself. And in this college, I have failed. Don't mind. Maybe I wasn't very good. I think in the colleges where people spend time understanding, there is a loud yes, sir. And I don't want you to do that just for the heck of doing it. A good leader also has to accept his or her failures. I don't think I was able to motivate you enough to be able to give me a loud response. Maybe it was the lack of time or bad timing or the kind of presentation that I made, but I thank you for your time, gentlemen and ladies. I only hope that you will work on your attitudes. One day, I would like to see you all there. And when in doubt, ever in your lives, just remember one word which adds up to 100. Knowledge doesn't, skill don't. The only word around that is attitude. You keep a positive attitude, you'll be able to reach the heights. And God bless you all. Thank you. Any questions? I'm happy to answer. I'm done. Any questions? Okay. Thank you for your time.